Whoa, like whoa. Hey, hey.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Fate, and if it's your first time, or you find yourself coming back, it was fate that brought us together. Before we get to the deck, let me tell you a little something about my streaming and content creating. And oddly enough, this deck makes me want to share a moment with y'all. About a year and a half ago, I was posted to a Facebook group, posting a deck, just talking mess, really. And I had created a ninja deck that was absolutely fire to play. I was hit up by a person who now is a friend, and his name is Brewlabs. And he hit me up about the deck, and we conversed a little bit, and then I went and I watched his stream. And if you don't know him, go and look his content up. I finally had found like a friend, I guess, that had the same kind of mindset with deck building and the drive to create content. And watching his channel and talking to him helped me make my mind up to do this. So I started watching all the streamers. And for me, I found only 3. Now that doesn't mean that the other ones are bad, or they're not good content creators, or they're not good streamers. But I kind of feel like with your gaming experience, having something that fits your personality, or you just find it to be enjoyable or like playing, is what you should look at in a streamer. And I hope that I give that to you. And for me, it was Brewlabs, Matches, that's Matches Malone, MTG Malone, and the Villain J. So for me, watching all their content and streaming it down to those 3 streamers, and those are the 3 streamers that I sub to and thoroughly enjoy their content. And oddly enough, it all started with some ninjas. And with that, let's get to the deck. Its name is Tengen Usia, the Flashy Ninja. This deck is a Dimir tempo control deck. Alright, so let's get to it. I'm using Kato, who's a legendary Planeswalker, which is very important, and I'll get to that in just one second. It has ninjutsu, and during your turn, as long as Kato has 1 or more loyalty counters on him, he's a 3/4 ninja creature and has hexproof. His +1 gives you an emblem with ninjas you control, get a +1/1. It's 0 Savell 2, then draw a card for each opponent who lost life this turn, and it has a -2, and that's tap target creature, put 2 stun counters on it. Comes in with 4 loyalty. And we also have Naishi, Searcher in the Dark. And fitting that his name is Searcher in the Dark, because that's exactly what this card's going to allow you to do. Search up things. Those things specifically are legendary and enchantment cards. So whenever Searcher in the Dark deals combat damage to a player, you mill that many cards. And you may put any number of legendary or enchantment cards from among them into your hand. And if you put no cards into your hand, put a 1/1 counter on her. And she has Menace. Now, what we're trying to do here is basically get a creature on board swinging to activate the ninjutsu ability on turn 3 if we're on play. Because when it hits the field, you're gonna get your swing in, and then when it swings, it's gonna swing as a 3/4. Then you're gonna get to activate its ability. And because it's the ninjutsu ability, that means somebody was swinging, nobody was blocking, and that damage is going straight to their face. And that's what we like, damage in their face. Now, after that, if there's something that you want to tap down for a couple of turns, or if you just want to make that emblem, because if you make that emblem, then your other ninja will go to a 3/3. And that means more cards to be searched up. Now, with that thinking, that's the reason I'm using, well, half the reason that I'm using the fairies. Alright, so we're going to use the Sleep Cursed Fairy, because it has flying and Ward 2. Now, it does enter the battlefield with 3 stun counters, but you can pay 2 and untap Sleep Cursed Fairy. So if it's got all 3 counters on it, and then you pay the 2, it's going to just take one of those counters off until it's empty, and then it readies. But If you have no counters on it and you've swung with it, you can untap it. So, like, you can untap on your opponent's turn, you can untap it to swing. You can't get no extra swings, but, you know, having the ability to untap is very important. Now, the Ward 2 on it and the fact that it's flying makes it where on turn 3, it's possible that you have it, you know, readied and able to swing with the Kato. Alright, so let's go. We're playing the Fairy Mastermind. I'd like to play this for its flash ability, hence the Flashy Ninja, but play it for its flash ability. If you play it at the end of turn 2, their turn 2, going into turn 3, and you flash it in, and they don't have an answer, or they're tapped down, or they don't have a flyer blocking, there you go. We're going into turn 3, and if you've got the Kato in hand, you're going to activate that ninjutsu ability and get this ball rolling. Now, there's another reason we're also running the fairies. We're running the fairies for the spell shutter. Counter target spell, unless its controller pays 2, plus an additional 1 for each fairy you control. Now, that's kind of self-explanatory, but I did tell you this is a control deck, and it's a heavy control deck. Alright, we're also using control removal and control, kind of pretty much the same thing. I can use a spell shutter and I can counter target creature spell, for example, or I can let it hit the field and I can just burn it on down. To me, it's all the same there as far as removal. We're using Bitter Triumph and go for the throat. Alright, so on turn 3, we also have an enchantment creature, Nightmare, Fear of Imposters. It also has a flash ability, and when Fear of the Imposters enters, counter target spell. That's any spell. Its controller manifest dread. Now, going back over here to our other little ninja there that likes to search up in the dark, she has the ability not only to search up that Kato because it's a legendary, she also has the ability to search up the enchantment creature. So that's what we have this in here too. We need a little bit of gas. It's got a little flash because we're playing control, so we're basically playing off turn. We're playing on our opponent's turn, and it's also an enchantment creature, so it can be searched up also with the other ninja. Staying with the control, we're also using the Arita Resurrected. It's got flash, and you counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Its controller draws a card. If the Fairy Mastermind's on the field, and you counter one of their cards, they draw a card, you draw a card. So it also combos off of itself. Also, destroy target creature or planeswalker. Its controller draws a card. So it goes right in there with that control aspect of what I was just saying about removal as well as counter. In the end, it's still control. Now with control, the main thing that causes control decks to collapse under their own weight, I'd like to say, is the fact they don't have hardly enough gas. They always run out of gas. Because once you get down and you starting to trade off, if you don't got a whole bunch of those draw or gas cards left in your hand, you just kind of peter out. And then they just kind of get on you and outrun you because you don't have an answer because you've been trading one for ones. Not with this deck. Not with this deck at all. We have the Enduring Curiosity, which, because we are trying to get those attack abilities in there, we're drawing cards and getting extra gas out of it. We're also getting a little bit of gas out of the Kiri, which is also a legendary creature that can be searched up with the other ninja. It's also a demon. Very important. And when Kiri enters, draw 3 cards, put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. So when I put this card in there, because I was needing extra gas, plus it fits the Dimir colors, first thing I thought of was, hey, it's a demon. And what would be a good way to hit him for 8 to the face? Unholy Annex. And didn't I say that control decks like to peter out? They just ain't got enough gas in them. They ain't no gas in them. Well, we got some more gas, the Unholy Annex. And at the beginning of your end step, draw a card. If you control a demon, each opponent loses 2 life. And if you control 2, and you gain 2 life. Otherwise, you lose 2 life. And when you unlock the door, create a 6/6 black demon creature token with flying. So it's also a creature. So there's gas and creature base. If you happen to put it on top of the deck, and when it dies and exiles the top card of the library, target opponent loses life equal to its mana value. And if it's an instant or sorcery card, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. Well, if it pops the Unholy Annex and hits him in the face for 8, I think that I don't mind losing that card because usually that's a kill shot that's lethal. Now, we have a very toolboxy kind of side deck here. We're kind of vulnerable a little bit to aggro early, so we've got a whole side deck for that. We've got the cut downs, extra go for the throats. And we have the Malicious Eclipse, which is kind of very vital against those token decks, as well as some of these mouse tools decks they got out there right now. You know the ones I'm talking about? Those Gruul Aggros, RDW decks. Got the Withering Torment. We're only running 2 of it, just in case they are kind of enchantment heavy. And it's also extra removal. Now, we also have the Overlord of the Flood Pits. Now, what I like to do, if they're not running creature heavy and I'm not really needing a board sweep, I'll switch these in for the deadly cover-ups and bring them on into the field. If they are creature heavy, I'll strip down Enduring Curiosity and add an extra deadly cover-up. I got some Virtue of Persistence, twofold here. It's also going to give you 2 life, give the negative 3/3, especially if they're running those little aggro decks. But it's another card that you can throw into the deck, trigger off the Kiri, and take 7 to the face. Alright, well there it is. That's pretty much the gist of the deck. I'm going to show you some stats after this on this deck. The heavy stats. I've got 21 and 11, 65% win rate. We are going to have 15 times on the play, 15 times on the draw. 15 times that are on the play has got a 60% win rate. 15 times on the draw, it has a 66% win rate. And as you'll see in the gameplay, I got a 10 game straight victory running with this. This deck is nasty. This deck is nasty. And I think that you thoroughly enjoy this deck. I really do. Well, that's pretty much the deck. I hope that y'all enjoyed that. If you don't know those streamers that I was telling you about, go look up their content. Like and subscribe to them. I'm telling you, just from a fan as well as a player, it's well worth your time and effort to look them up, like on YouTube or other social media platforms, and just sit back and watch how they brew decks or how they bring the content to you. For example, Brew Labs is more into the brew. He's real kind of serious about it, and you could tell the effort that he puts into brewing his decks, and really heavy with his analytics, and I like that about him. And then you look at like Jay. Jay is more lighthearted. He's kind of frisky. He puts a lot of content out, and content that I enjoy playing. And with that, you know, he's kind of got this ferocity about him that makes it enjoyable, especially for someone like me, very high-strung player. I like to bring the pain. And then you got Malone, and Malone makes me laugh. I mean, like, uncontrollably sometimes. But he's got a ferocity about him, too. All 3 of them do. And when they kind of get into their mix and their modes, it makes you feel like they're more like the kind of player you are, or the kind of player I am. I'll just say it like that. So I do encourage you to go and look at their content. And hopefully you get some of the same things I did. Because if it wasn't for those 3 live streamers in particular, I don't think I'd be cutting content right now. They made it enjoyable and made me want to cut content too. So without further ado, let's get to the matches, and you can watch me make them take this damage.